All right, Jesse on fire. Welcome back to the channel. Do I look different? How do I look? I feel so different. I have 9,000 subscribers, son. Look at that. Thank you guys very much. I was going to do a whole thing about this being a super big deal because it is a big deal, right? Now, I will acknowledge, I thought I was going to just blow past 9K when I first started doing this because that's how easy it was on TikTok. I find out now that YouTube is a grind. There are a lot of people trying to do this on YouTube, and so there's no just breakout, it doesn't just happen like that. But I'll tell you what, I love you guys, and I appreciate the support, and I'm gonna just continue to do this. So eventually, we're gonna get to 90,000, then we'll get to 150,000, we'll get to all that. But today, we are at 9,000, and that is because of you guys. Thank you guys very, very much. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. So, what are we going to talk about today, though? We're going to talk about Dustin Poirier, Conor McGregor's rematch, and why I think that is going to be for the belt, and actually why I don't think that that is unjustified. Well, at least I think there is a way that the UFC is going to be able to explain it that people aren't really going to be able to argue with that much, okay? So we'll talk about that. Also, the reason I didn't do a video yesterday, and I apologize for that, I hit 9K on a day I didn't do a video, is because I was doing 2 videos on Jesse on Everything. And the reason for that is because I did one, and then I went, and I realized I had a video about the Armageddon, okay? I didn't see it. I've known about this, but I realized I had never done a video about it, about a very real 100% inevitable threat to all of civilization that's going to happen inside the next 100 years that no one is ever talking about, and how there are multiple issues that kind of come together with this issue that we could really start addressing it, because if we don't, our kids are going to starve to death, okay? So if you're interested in what that is, because it's a global threat and you won't be able to argue with it, you're going to watch and you're going to go, oh, wow, I hadn't really thought about that, and he's for sure right. If you're interested in what that is, Jesse on Everything, okay? Go subscribe to that channel, please. I'm trying to build that channel too. And or watch the video, and if you think that I have some good insights, subscribe to that channel as well. I love you guys. Thank you. All right. So let's talk about Dustin Poirier, and let's talk about Conor McGregor, and let's talk about Charles Oliveira and Chandler and Gaethje and everybody else in the division, because what I'm going to say affects everyone, okay? So they announced that Dustin Poirier and Conor McGregor are going to rematch in May, okay? The trilogy fight is going to be in May. Now that seems a little bit quick given how much damage Conor took, but whatever, okay? Is what it is. That's what they're saying. Now, I think the fight's going to be for the belt, because I had to really think about this, because I'm looking at the lay of the land, and I'm like, okay, they have to put the belt up somewhere. And Dustin Poirier on Twitter had said something to another person who had said, like, hey, Dustin, when are they going to give you your belt? And he said, the UFC told me it's in the mail. Now, he might have been joking. It might have just been he might have been saying that in jest. However, it might not be, okay? Because here's the thing. The only reason the belt really matters, especially to a vet like Dustin Poirier, is for the money, right? At this point, I mean, of course he wants to be the champion, but if he was going to fight the same opponent anyway, because that's exactly what my point is that it should have been for the belt in the first fight. Well, I guess their second, the fight that just happened should have been for the vacant belt, and the UFC made a mistake, right? And if this would have gone the way it went, they would have given Conor a rematch, because it's a money fight. That's the way it goes. If you're a big enough star, he would have gotten a rematch. I mean, so this would have been for the belt either way. Now, have always been wondering if in retrospect they were going to give it to Dustin. Now, before everybody gets bent out of shape, I'm going to address Charles Oliveira, because I understand that's the guy that everybody just kind of agrees kind of universally, well, he should get the next title shot. And I'm actually going to, for the first time, say I don't think he should get the next title shot. And not because of this, just because I don't think he deserves it yet. Straight up. I don't think Charles Oliveira deserves it quite yet, necessarily. You could certainly make a case for it, but this idea that he is like bulletproof, the number one contender, I don't see that. And I'll tell you exactly why. And I just hadn't examined it before. And I bet you when I lay this out, a few of you guys are going to go, that's a pretty good point, actually. That is actually probably a pretty good point. So we'll get to that, though. But first of all, well, let's get to it right now, actually. Okay. So the main gap of, you just give it to, Conor and Dustin. It's not fair. Charles Oliveira's earned it. Are you sure? Are you positive about that? Has he earned it? Right? I mean, does anyone who goes on a long win streak automatically deserve a title shot? Like, if you go on a big long win streak, do you automatically deserve a title shot? Is it irrelevant who else is in your division? Is it irrelevant who the opponents that you beat were? And is it irrelevant, that you haven't beat anyone in the top 10 except for one guy who is on a decline in his career? Does that matter? Okay, because that's the situation with Charles Oliveira. Okay, so here's the deal. I hadn't really looked super close at this, but here are his 8 consecutive wins, okay? Ready? Clay Guida, Okay. Christos Giagos, Jim Miller, David Timur, Nick Lentz, Jared Gordon, none of them in the top 10, none of them. And I mean, does that sound like a really, chock full of talent group of people that I mean, anyone in the UFC's talent, but are those guys who are, oh man, he beat David Timur, give him a title shot. Oh, he finished Nick Lentz, give him a title shot. Oh, he knocked out Jared Gordon, give him a title shot. Okay? Are that a list of people that you go, oh wow, Charles Oliveira deserves a title shot? Next one, Kevin Lee. Okay? Whoa, he was the 8th consecutive person to beat Kevin Lee. Give him a title shot. Nope. So no one in the top 10. Okay? A lot of these guys are totally unranked. The majority of them are totally unranked. Okay? Then he beats Tony Ferguson. So he beat Tony Ferguson, right? So is Tony Ferguson at this point a person that gives you an automatic title shot? Now, if Tony Ferguson hadn't gotten obliterated by Justin Gaethje, then yeah, sure. Wow, we didn't realize he was so but Tony Ferguson is clearly on a decline. And I apologize for saying this because I really like Tony Ferguson. But and Tony Ferguson could come back and do some things, but he got obliterated by Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje. And then he got beaten very, very handily by Charles Oliveira. I think Charles Oliveira might be the biggest talent in the division, maybe. But let me just lay this out. Let me just lay this part of the problem out if you're Charles Oliveira and you are vying for a title shot, okay? So, has he beat Dustin Poirier? Nope. Has he beat Justin Gaethje? Nope. Has he beat Michael Chandler? Nope. Has he beat Conor McGregor? Nope. Has he beat Dos Anjos? Nope. Has he beat Dan Hooker? Nope. Has he beat Dariush? Nope. Paul Felder? Nope. Diego Ferreira? Nope. Ali Quinta? Nope. Islam Makhachev? Nope. Gilbert Gillespie? Nope. Okay, he's beat 2 guys in the top 15, and one of them is Kevin Lee, which he's lost $1 million in a row, and one of them is Tony Ferguson. And you think that he deserves a title shot in front of Justin Gaethje, Michael Chandler, Conor McGregor? I mean, you know what I mean? Obviously Conor McGregor is his own kind of enigma that is a specialty item because he's the most valuable fighter in the UFC, and ultimately the UFC is a business, okay? That's the other part, okay? So now I've established Michael Chandler knocked out Dan Hooker, okay? I think Dan Hooker is equal to Tony Ferguson, and Michael Chandler was a champion in Bellator, so maybe Michael Chandler deserves a title shot. I mean, you know what I mean? Michael Chandler versus Charles Oliveira. Michael Chandler's a bigger star. You could certainly argue that he would deserve a title shot over him. Justin Gaethje, a blaring example, except for the fact that he was the most recent person to lose to Khabib. Obviously, he gets a win. He should be right there as well. So, people go on a huge win streak. They lose to Khabib. They beat really, really top guys. Then they lose to Khabib. Well, I guess Gaethje, whatever. Neither here nor there. But guys go through, and then they lose to Khabib. And this just because their last win or last fight is a loss to the best fighter in the history of the 155-pound division, and a guy who's beat a bunch of nobodies. You think that? I mean, you know what I mean? So I get it. I understand why. People are very, very, short-memoried, right? Oh, well, that guy lost recently. That guy hasn't lost in forever. You're like, who did he beat? Okay? Who did he beat? He beat Tony Ferguson. That's the only notable name out of his entire resume. An aging Tony Ferguson. Okay? So, here it is. I think that they should have had the belt up for the last fight. I think that they all know that now. I think that Dustin Poirier is going to get a contract as if he was the champion anyway for this rematch, because now he is almost an equal value to this particular fight, just like Nate Diaz was. He'll make $10 million for this fight. Conor McGregor is going to do Conor McGregor money, and it'll be a massive, massive, massive event that will only be made even more massive if the belt is on the line. And guess what? You want to know what the tough part of being a UFC fighter is? What are you going to do? If the fighters are upset, what are you going to do? I mean, what are you going to do? You're locked into a 9-fight contract. You can't fight anywhere else. What are you going to do? You're just going to retire because you're upset that Conor McGregor got a title shot when he's 1-2 in the division? What are you going to do? You're not going to do anything. There's nothing you can do, okay? Nothing you can do. Now, I would say UFC owes the, there's a certain point where they owe it to the sanctity of the sport not to do certain things. I don't think that we're here. I don't think that that's what this, if they did do this for the title, I don't think that they're breaking any rules here. Conor's an enigma, okay? If Conor loses this fight, he's going to have to string together some fights to be able to even at all be in any title conversation. But at this point, this fight against Dustin should have been for the title, and it's a rematch. So putting the belt up, I can see it. I can see them doing it. I'm not like, again, I'm not saying that purely from the sport perspective that Conor should be front of the line. Obviously, he's 1 and 2 in the division, but this is not a sport. It's a business. Okay, it's a sport and a business, but it's a business. Okay, and Conor is the biggest star in the history of the sport. So, yeah, I think it's going to be for the belt. And I think it's going to piss a lot of people off. And I think it's not going to affect the pay-per-view buys at all, right? I could be wrong. I could be wrong. They could do... how would Dustin Poirier not be the champion at 155 right now? You're like, how? And you can't expect him to not take the Conor fight. So any other belt... that's what I'm saying, actually, is it muddies the waters. If you're like, all right, Charles Oliveira is going to fight Michael Chandler for the belt. I mean, seriously, think about that. Oh, we're going to have them fight for the belt. It's like, now, again, let's go back to what I just said. Okay, well, Gaethje just lost to Chandler just got in the UFC and won 1 fight. He beat Dan Hooker. And then Oliveira has beat a bunch of fucking nobodies. He beat a bunch of, Bellator fighters, kind of, he beat a bunch of guys who would not, for 100% sure, be the champion in Bellator, right? These guys wouldn't go through, just run through the Bellator fighters. So he beat a bunch of Bellator guys. And then he beat Tony Ferguson. So if you have them fight for the belt, does that make sense that one of them is the champion and Dustin Poirier is not? Makes no sense to me. So I think the way this shakes out is that's why they're doing such a quick turnaround, because they have to give someone the belt. It's going to be Dustin and Conor. Whoever wins will be the champion. If Conor wins, it'll piss everyone off and it won't affect pay-per-views at all. And that's just what's going to happen. But that is my prediction. I've been wrong about fucking everything lately. So we'll see how it goes. Anyway, if you like the content, subscribe, ring the bell, and tell your motherfucking friends. Thank you guys again for 9K. Peace.